Hello and welcome back to the Weekly Woo from April 13th to April 19th, 2026. And wow, what a week we have upon us sitting on our shoulders. All I can say is, wow, you know what? The game is on. Our spirituality is in super boost mode. War action, fighting back is, the game is on. The gloves are off. It's very, very, very active, very activated week. So this can be a kickoff of many things, and we are basically freedom oriented, right? That's very, very highlighted this week. War energy and pioneering energy, full of willpower and ambition. And this can also supercharge the body. And what I mean by that is by our energy levels beginning to increase. We'll actually feel better and start to feel like wanting to do something. And so that should start to be feeling better or coming back slowly. Okay, so we have a crap load of Aries energy coming in, like a lot. So that's our fire starter. That's our fire burner. It's ambitious, but it's very, very war-torn energy, but definitely full of willpower and the urge to want to do. The one thing I will put out as a warning is do be careful not to burn out and burn others out. Okay, and when we have so much energy in Aries, and remember Mars at this point in time is in its home sign. And so when we have so much Aries influence with, the god of war being activated, this can often mean cutting away something out of life. This can also involve, when I say cutting away or cutting, that can also involve surgeries. Okay, so we do have... I will start with our planetary shifts this week. So we have two. And so on April 14th, we will have Mercury entering into Aries. So another planet in Aries, like go figure, right? So we just keep adding to that fiery, hot, boiling pot of energy and activation and ambition and war energy, etc. We have on the 19th, the sun entering Taurus. So at that point in time, the 19th, we will be entering into Taurus season. So happy birthday to all the Taurus folks out there. Okay, so we have two basically planetary shifts this week. That's it. And our overshadowing larger energies we're still in, we're kind of fading out of that post-shadow eclipse season. That will basically officially end, in my opinion, about May 3rd. I allow 60 days, 2 months or so for it to fade out. So just go every day that we get closer to May 3rd, just note that the energy lessens, okay, until we're completely out of it. We're also all planets direct right now. So we are all planets direct right now till about the 6th of May. I believe, or the first week of May anyway. Pluto will go retrograde at that point. So she's all systems go. She's all green lights, right? So that's a good time to register businesses, incorporate, buy large ticket items, buy anything that would be like electronic devices, so iPhones, iPads, computers, desktops, laptops, etc., large ticket items like houses, vehicles, etc. So that's all systems go, all planets direct. So Yahoo, that's a good thing. Okay, what else do I want to talk about? Anyway, this week, and this is kind of like a spin-off from last week, and and the next chapter, the next phase, but as a very, very heightened, very elevated level. Like it gives me that spot on we have ambitious takeoff or new things coming in or new ambitions or passion projects or creativity or being very, very artistic, those kind of things. That also includes the spiritual world, but at the same token, it's also got the gloves off. Like whatever you're after, you're going to fight for it, you're going to stand your ground and push back. So if you were to look at this in particularly on a global level, so it's very, very, the gloves are off, freedom oriented, and push back for your rights, your freedoms, and those kind of things. And it's very, very centered around tearing down the old order, the old structures. So it's very amplified. And the only reason I say it's super, super amplified this week is because we have so many conjunctions. Like it's almost off the charts, almost off the wall. So this particular week, we have 4 conjunctions, which is very rare, right? So anytime we have a conjunction, that is the most highly powered aspect in the astrology chart. So, but just do keep in mind, as good as they can be, they can also fall on the negative side, right? So it can be positive or negative, but it's just very, very energized, and it's very fused, and it's very charged. And so it takes very little for eruptions or you fight back, those kind of things. So positive or negative. And now that times that by 4 with different planets involved. But I will mention on the 20th, that's not part of this week, but it's close enough. We actually have 2 more conjunctions on the 20th. And so that is very, very, very highly impacted, very, very, very activated. So at that point, if we actually took in from the 13th to the 20th, you would actually have 6. Okay. So this is one of those things, do choose your battles wisely. Stay on the positive note. Do not engage and avoid conflict if possible, right? There's always things standing your ground, but keep it under wraps, keep a level head, and think twice before acting, think twice before doing, because it's such an activated week. It can go very, very, very sideways extremely quickly. Okay. Something else we are going to be having this week. Oh, I forgot to mention this. I'm not looking at it right now. Is for the planetary shifts, etc., and what's going on. I forgot to mention on April 17th, we will have our new moon in Aries at 27 degrees. Okay, so again, more activated Aries energy. Okay, so even though the moon phases, they come and they go quite quickly, it's still worth a mention. Again, because it's adding more fiery energy. So we're also boxed in by Uranus aspects. So why would I mention that? It's not particularly highly activated aspects mixed with it, but we have that Uranus hanging at that 29th anaretic, chaotic, erratic degree in Taurus. First of all, Uranus does not like being in Taurus. It's a detriment sign combination. At that 29th degree, it doesn't matter what planet and what sign. Whenever we hit that 29th degree, it's chaotic. It's craziness. It's crazy behavior, crazy activity. It's off the wall. It's out of the blue. It's unexpected. And at that 29th degree, it is always shake up or shake down energy. And so it's very, very activated, very, very attention getting. And we can have crazy people doing crazy things, doing stupid things that they normally would not do. So again, it's out of the blue. It's unexpected events, unexpected people showing up or turning up, those kind of things. It can be, like I said, shock, surprise, chaos, right? Erratic behavior. Breakdowns that bring breakthrough. So no, why would I mention this? Because we actually have a Uranus aspect on each end of the week. So it actually is going to be happening on the 14th, 13th energy. We will feel it close enough. And so another one on the 19th. So that's why I said we're boxed in by it. So this can bring in, and we do have a good aspect with it. So just because it's in that crazy 29th degree, we can still have some crazy out of the blue good things come in. And so it's shake up. So again, just unexpected events coming up, unexpected events happening, chaos, chaotic, and it can actually be some pretty good breakthroughs or some really, really nice unexpected shocks or surprises. So that we do have going on. This whole week, our plans are not going to stay in concrete. So you can have tentative plans, but don't think they're going to stick. They're not going to stay in concrete. So be patient, be flexible, be willing to adjust and shift plans. So my best advice is always have plan A, B, C, D, E, and, just kind of sitting in limbo, kind of, in the back seat, because if plan A and B don't work out, move to C and D, right? So be flexible and just have patience and with yourself and with others. So the good thing is if we have a forewarning about plans not going to stick, they're going to be constantly, consistently changing daily, we can kind of mentally prepare for that. And so when I say that, you can probably expect your plans to change probably multiple times a day. Okay, so just keep that in mind. And more on a global level, so that could be, national, global, country, whatever. I do expect to see some really, really good pushback for people fighting for their rights and their freedoms. It would be like, the home ground, the people versus the head of the state, the government. So when I say that, this is going to be where it's going to be a very serious locking of horns this week. And I can see that that's going to probably unfold around or around the 19th, give or take a day. I mean, it's going to be a longer term, but that will almost kind of be the explosive kickoff, because we have a Mars conjunct Saturn. And so right there, when we have a conjunction, again, that's super powered, supercharged, super fused, and you're mixing both malefic planets involved. So that's highly eruptive. It's like, locking horns and the gloves are off. That would be between the people and the state, or, the home country versus the state the head of the country. Okay, so but we do have some very, very, very good energy for the people. So, and again, remember Pluto and Aquarius, that particular combination is power back to the people. And we're going to see a huge influence this week going in that direction. So lots of times upheaval it just explodes and then all of a sudden it's the pushback, right? So she's going to be a happening week. And also with that, I see some really, really good Plutonian Pluto sextile. So that is about positive change. We got Mars involved there again. So she's very, very forceful. It's very elevated. This will also be a really good week where you're going to get a lot of stuff done this week. You got the kind of the fire under your arse and just give her, right? So you pick up a lot of more internal physical energy within the body. You feel like doing it. You want to do it. And by Jesus, you get it done. You're going after what you want. So again, like I will warn again, do not push yourself to the point of burnout and do not burn others up because that can happen very easily. So do implement some boundaries for yourself and of course for others, right? So we don't want that because you want to keep a healthy balance of energies, not just go for a day or 2 or 3 and then crash and burn, okay? So that's something else I do want to mention. So if you're looking for passion projects, those kind of things, getting things up and running for say art and beauty, creativity, inspiration, even it could be a spiritually or religious oriented where you wanted to do new projects or take new educational courses or, it's creativity. So new cycles starting. So maybe, studying some education to do with spirituality in any way, shape, or form. Remember, that can be mainstream religion or it can be occult, esoteric, so anything like that. Writing, painting, maybe redecorating, those kind of things in the house or renovating, anything to do with any sort of art, creativity, or beauty. So those can be very amplified this week as well. Again, we got a huge stellium of Aries energy. So we did have at one time, we're kind of burning this off, but it used to be a very, very high energy of Pisces stellium energy. But now that all the planets are slowly shifting into Aries, we're slowly fading away out of that watery, heavy, emotional energy of Pisces, and the fire is coming along to burn that water off, burn that steam off. So we're basically moving into a very, very, very high energy of Aries energy, like I said. So I'll tell you why. Because now we have, as of this week, by the time it's completed, we will have the sun right now is going to be in Aries, but by the end of the week, it will move into Taurus. But currently for this week, we will have the sun in Aries, the moon, and the new moon is going to be in Aries, Mercury, Mars, Saturn, Neptune, and Chiron all in Aries. So you can see where it's a huge fire starter energy. So the beautiful thing about Aries is, like I said, it's the fire starter. It's the get up and go. It's pioneering. It's very, very eye-oriented. It's fiery. It's creative. And it's very, very, very motivated. It's courageous, daring, and bold. Okay. And it does seek to be independent or independence. And so when I say the independence, we can certainly see the act or the energy of sovereignty really stepping up this game. And this week, we're really going to see that. Okay. So we can see that sovereignty energy playing out on a global scale. So it's going to be very, very elevated. Something I do want to mention with so much Aries, Aries is a fire starter. It's the baby of the zodiac, right? It's the first zodiac of the zodiac belt. And the thing of it is, we want to be very, very careful with this because it's such a dominant and dominating energy right now. It can be very, very good at liftoff, starting things, having ambition and those kind of things. But the negative side or the real dark side of Aries can be very hasty. It can bring on violence, violent activity, or violent thoughts, being very selfish, okay? It can be very domineering, controlling. Okay, so that's something we want to be very, very careful with. It can be ultra belligerent as well. Okay, the other things I do want to mention is it can be extremely impatient, egotistic, and it can be very, very headstrong. And so the biggest thing we want to, and it can be activated in the energy of burning other people out. So again, I know I've mentioned that a few times, but because it's such a high impact energy right now, that's something we do want to be very careful. And another thing we want to be careful about is if there's any stalking activity, which goes in with violence, domineering, dominance, controlling. So again, those particular things, those can be applied different ways. Apply it accordingly, if at all. Hopefully not, but it's out there. Okay. So that is something we want to be careful. And angry. I forgot to mention the angry and the hot tempers. Okay. So that's something else that can come along with Aries. Angry and high tempers. Okay. So that being said, that will kind of cover that energy for right now. So the one thing I do want to talk about a little bit, again, since we're burning off that stellies, or that Pisces stellium energy, so again, that will take away some of the attention to do with water and steam and emotions, and the intuition can be slightly lessened. But the good news is with getting rid of some of the Pisces energy is, the leaks, the water problems, those kind of things, the abnormal swelling or water retention, that should start to reduce over time. So that's always a good thing. So just remember, with every sign, there is plus and negative, or positive and negative, or like I said, plus and minus, positive or negative, or it can be what they would call positive or challenged. Okay, so when we see some of that Pisces energy wearing away, that is actually a pretty good thing. And so again, that can hover around anything to do with waterways, water shipping, water transportation, etc., those kind of things. Okay, so, but again, we're stepping into a stellium, a huge stellium of fire energy. All right. And this week we want to be on our game. We want to be on our toes. Do be very, very hyper aware of what's going on around you. And again, do not engage in conflict, because that will take somebody someplace really, really, really not good. Because when we have that 29th degree in Uranus acting up and acting out, that can be erratic behaviors mixed with hot, angry tempers, being violent or stalking, those kind of things. So those are the kind of combinations in a challenged area that can really show its face this week. And again, it can be really unexpected war, or it can be leaders that are war oriented, or it can be the pushback against leaders or public leaders. So again, when we're mixing those two particular planets, Mars and Saturn, in a conjunction, both in fire signs, it's kind of look out. That one burns hot, and it's going to be the battle of the wills. Okay. So that can be not only global, in your country, your state, your province, wherever you live, but that can definitely be on a personal level, where there could be a struggle, like a power control battle, right? So that can be personal to global. So take it as it lands. Apply it accordingly. Okay, so with that being said, I'm going to quickly run through the areas that will be probably of high interest to you. So this week we're going to have a lot of the health houses lit up. So that's basically the only one, but it is lit up a little bit, the 8th house, but the 1st and the 6th house are definitely health houses. So because we have so much Aries activity, the focus on the physical body is huge. Okay, so that will be your physical body. So your muscle tones, that can be red blood cells, renal blood tests, those kind of things. Weight. It can be weight gain, weight loss. And when I say weight gain, weight loss, that could be muscles. It's not always fat or, those kind of areas. But muscle tone, focusing on muscle tone, building muscle tone, your physical body, your weight, wellness, health and illness, healing. And it can be very much about your body image, okay? And how you are recognized, and basically your physical body appearance or your physical appearance. This can also hover around, the face, facial areas, your hair color, hairdos, new haircuts, new makeup, skincare, anything to do with on the face or skin in a appearance orientation, something like that. And how you're seen. And so again, the 1st house is always about the physical body health. So now, whether you're ill, finding a way out, a form of healing and wellness, or you just want to improve your health and keep on going, or you might be working out, building that muscle mass or a nice physique. This is also the house of physique on anybody with the physical body, on any level, actually. Okay, and this can also hover around view and viewpoints and how you view the world and view what's going on in the world. Okay. Something else I do want to mention here, because this is all about the head and face areas, internal, external. I do want to warn about being very careful of taking hits to the head, banging your head trauma, those kind of things, because with that much Aries is always about the head, face, brain, interior, exterior areas. We have conjunctions that can be really, really good focus, maybe a new haircut, maybe a new hair color, or working on facial makeup, or maybe even facial reconstruction, whatever, right? Or, plastic surgery. But it can also swing the other way to the negative, where it could be like accidents, traumas to the face, trauma to the head. So be very, very careful. Look out for you and look out for others. Okay, and so something else, this will be about your job, your career, your work. So, business-like, or maybe you're starting a new business, thinking about starting a new business, but very business, job, work oriented. So this can be really about your career and management, especially a management of time. Time will be the essence, right? This can also hover around areas of dads, father figures, authority figures. So now when we're talking about the 10th house, which is ruled by Saturn, we will be talking about the authority figure. So that can be global leaders, political leaders, that can be bosses, anybody that would be considered an authority or an authority figure, okay? And this can be also your place out in the world, how you're identified. So your status, your title, like that person's a boss, that person is a banker, that person is a teacher, how you're seen, okay? So whatever your title is, and that can also include being married, to being divorced, to being single. That is also a title and how you're seen too. And this is also the house of discipline, responsibility, again, strategy, accountability, and I do think we're going to see some of those surprise things show up. Something else I wanted to mention, we have Uranus at the crazy chaotic degree of 29 degrees. We have an active Pluto. And so when we have that chaotic Uranus energy, I do expect to see some truths that come in that are probably totally, completely off the wall, meaning when you hear it or you read it, you think, I just can't believe that. So that has that element about it. Uranus always hovers around the truths, as does Jupiter. And so we can be finding out some very, very, very out of the blue, unexpected, surprising news that unfolds on a global level, okay? And so when we mix Pluto in, that can also mean discovered hidden money. Where did the money go? The mysteries, the secrets being uncovered, unearthed. And again, Pluto mixing with Uranus, that core of truth, that surprising, shocking truth that they thought was buried forever, all of a sudden it erupts and it's, basically disclosed to the world or the globe. So just some examples. Take it as it lands. Okay, and something else that will be very highlighted is accountability, like I said, strategy and time. Time will be the essence. So timing, whether it's dates or times, do honor that, because that will be in large focus. And something long-term. So anytime we have Saturnian, those kind of areas, or 10th house, long-term anything. So that could be like a long-term plan or something you've been doing long-term. So that will be, anything long-term will be in focus, what you would consider long-term. Time efficiency is important. And this is your public reputation. So what you're known for, what you're seen as. And again, this is going to shed focus onto leaders in any way, shape, or form. This is also about loving structures, building solid structures. That's one thing about Saturn, is it will keep on testing your structures until they're perfectly solid. If it's not solid, you're going to rip it down, and guess what? You're going to do it again, okay? So again, leader, you a leader in your own world, you and a leader in your own household. Again, global leaders right across the globe. Doesn't matter where you live, whatever country, there will be a high focus on that. So like I said, this is like a huge explosive, the gloves are off, or it's huge explosive, we have liftoff with a new cycle, or it's huge explosive, somebody's on the downfall because something was found out. So this can be literally a brand new beginning, or it can be the downfall, the crashing, and the implosion of something old structure that was long-term coming to an end, or working on a closure, working on an end. It's whatever it's tearing down, that complete structure is not stable, okay? So just something to think about, apply it accordingly. Okay, and so we are going to have communication among siblings, relatives, so that would be cousin, aunts, uncles, neighbors. That will not include parents or children. Everybody else but that. So siblings, neighbors, people close to us, any type of relative. And so again, we have a couple air houses lit up, and so that is going to hover around air travel. And that can also be about communications, right? So the communication line is big time open, so we can expect a lot of communication because we do have a very active Mercury this week. Okay, and so on devices, like I said, computers, iPhones, iPads, iPods, interpersonal devices. This will also include social media or internet projects, or that can include internet education, those kind of things. Transportation, driving here or there, short trips uptown, neighboring towns, and also it can really focus on modes of transportation. So that can be anywhere from cars to trucks to quads to side-by-sides to wheelchairs to mopeds to scooters, etc. Can include writing and editing. And again, I do want to mention every time we have a third house activated, gossip. Do be careful with the gossip. You can know it. There's nothing wrong with knowing it. You can't help if you hear it, but it doesn't mean you have to spread it. So just nothing wrong with knowing, just mind your own business. And do know the difference between fact and fiction, because this particular week, you do not want to get caught up in false gossip or those kind of things, because that is going to land you in some really, really hot water or a lot of trouble. So mind your P's and Q's, right? Think twice before acting and speaking, okay? And again, your neighborhood or your neighbors might be quite important to you this week, okay? And we're going to move on to the next topic. So this is the sixth house, the karma house, is working on karma or karmic cycles. Again, this is where the health house is oriented. So along with the physical body, you're going to be looking at healing and wellness, daily routines, daily regimens, organizing and finding systems that work. Now that can be, work where you're working at your employment, but it can finding systems and organization that work for healing, wellness, and health regimens. And so this can hover around work, and details are of the essence. So do pay attention, do read the fine print. Pets. You might be having pets, you might be getting a new pet. And pet oriented in any way, shape, or form. And again, this is also about your work being important to you and your service to the world, okay? Doing things that are highly important to you. You might be mentoring somebody might be mentoring you. And again, this is very, very, very focused on diet, exercise, and a health focus. Now, the negative side of this particular house can be a little bit of bad luck, slavery, or feeling enslaved. So when we say slavery, you might be feeling enslaved to your job or, to the tax base, those kind of things, but can also be enslavement within a relationship. So hopefully that won't be for all of you, but guaranteed it will be for some, unfortunately. Okay. And so something else I do want to talk about is we do have a very active 12th house. So when we talk about that, and that because that's Neptunian ruled. So this is really good and very, very busy this week. So this is a dark water house. So this is things going on behind the scenes. It's hidden or it's secret. This is going to be about rest and retreat, rejuvenation, recharging time for the body or the mind, the soul, whatever. This is also about dream time. So any type of dreams, journaling your dreams, lucid dreaming, remote viewing, teleportation, astral dreaming, those kind of things. And it's also about the subconscious mind. Our psychology, our inner work, time to do our shadow work. This can be very, very elevated or highlighted in the areas of esoteric, the cosmic areas, cosmic soup, Akashic records, occult, any type of spirituality, mystical study, or mysticism. So again, that is very, very highlighted in this particular week. So, or you might be actually fighting with somebody about it. Maybe somebody believes in it, so the other person doesn't. This is about the fears and addictions too. So this can be very, very highlighted. So whether it's on like a news cap or a news story about drugs and addictions, that can be, but it's very fear focused as well. So again, that's the negative part of this particular house is fear and addictions and escapism. So whether it be healthy escapism or unhealthy, unhealthy would be drug induced or combination alcohol. And remember, it's about any type of addiction. So addictions can be drugs, alcohol, pharmaceutical drugs, prescription drugs that you're addicted to, or it could be sex addictions, pornography addictions, anything like that. So anything to do that with an addiction. It's not always just drugs and alcohol, right? And also can be the workaholic addiction. That is something I sometimes forget to mention on this one, but that can be very elevated there as well. All right. And this is also the house of private. Also about confinement. So being confined or being just a number. So confinement, so that can be confined or stuck in hospitals, prisons, orphanages, jails, those types of things, or just being a number in a system like A number in a system would be in a hospital, like you're just a number, you're just a patient, or same as jails, or it can also be within, military or army. You're part of, but you're just a number, right? Okay. And also stuck in places you don't want to be. And so this can also include isolation. So you might be self-isolating to maybe write poetry, or you might be being isolated due to a domestic problem within a relationship, okay? And foreign lands and foreign shores, that can also be included here. This is also a house of karma. We have both karma houses lit up, and this can be generational karma, past lives, that area. And last but not least is this can include redefining yourself, your ego, from the ground up, meaning we're starting over. So a good example I use is like a divorce. You become single, you're not married anymore, you went through a divorce, you have to divvy up money and marital property, and so therefore you're redefining yourself because you're not that old person anymore. We're starting all over. So that is, I kind of like to save that one for the last. And again, I do want to bring up about work addictions, the workaholic. That I think is going to be very, very highlighted here because of so much Aries energy. So workaholic and burnout. So that's something to be very, very cautious about. All right. Again, we do have quite a bit of active Mercury energy, which means we're going to have a lot of communications coming in, a lot of communications going out. So do keep it in priority. Prioritize all that kind of stuff. So that can be phone calls, emails, text messages, literally paper mail, like physical mail, including packages or parcels. And that can also include thinking, those kind of things too, thinking and learning. So you might be taking courses. So this really can come to a head this week. It can probably go from 0 to 120 in about 5 seconds. So again, any sort of communication, incoming, outgoing, do expect that. Keep everything in stride. All the important stuff, look at it. The stuff that could wait, toss it in the back seat. All right. Again, this can be very, very highlighted around illusions and delusions, the con artist, the con job in progress. This can be very, very, very activated in the area of deceit, lies, and falsehood. So again, do not believe everything you see. Do not believe everything you hear. Question everything. We have a very active Neptune. Not only it's got some good things, but it comes with the negative areas and the falsehoods, the deceit, the lies, those kind of things. That's the flip side. That's the negative side of Neptune. And this can also hover around wearing rose-colored glasses, just refusing to see things as they are. Remember, there's always a difference between what you want to see and what actually is, or it can be known as the head in the sand area too. So something else Neptune is big time noted for is dissolving away, eroding away, dissolution or disillusionment. So for example, we will start to see that big time this week where somebody's position or title is eroding away. If it's not slowly, it could be like a high impact, like instantaneously. Somebody was this title, like a leader, and all of a sudden they've been stripped of it or they have been removed, okay? So that's a big time energy as well. And again, it really hovers around leaders, bosses, employers, business owners, anything to do with business, those kind of things. And again, a very active Mars. It's very busy, it's very active. And for a lot of us, we're going to be starting brand new things, brand new concepts, brand new projects or hobbies or jobs or careers. But again, the other side of that is we're going to be cutting away the old, and Mars really doesn't screw around. It just imposes it. That's it. Done, finished, get out of here, done. It cuts away the old out of life. All right, so we are going to move over to the health and anatomy. All right. Oh, you know what? There is one more thing I do want to add to the house energy. This can have to do with children, grandchildren, your hobbies, also being seen on a more public level. That's completely possible too. Something else, hidden or secret talents. That's something else can be very highlighted. And this is also like the areas of the bucket list, wanted to do things that you've always wanted to do. You're thinking about it, talking about it, or actually going to do it. This is also the house of some good luck, okay? Creative expression. So again, that's very, very linked with house 12. So whether that be artistic, creative design, spiritual designs, it's got really a lot to do with creative expression in any way, shape, or form. So whether you're a quilter, a seamstress, a painter, someone who does home renos, or you're actually a painting artist, those kind of things, or you're a creative writer, that's very highlighted here as well. And it's also about sex and romance, okay? So that is falling in love. That's also something covered in this area as well. I just got to grab my paper. Give me a sec. I just thought about it, realized I didn't throw it in my pile of stuff. Okay, and so this is also about having fun, finding things that bring you pleasure and bring you joy. Okay, so again, this can be also hovering around sports, or you're sports minded or taking part in sports. It's also the house of speculation, which is always kind of cool when it covers that. And this is also about leadership. So again, you might be being asked to step up to the plate, or you might not even have to be asked. You might just take over the role and do it. So taking a leadership role or state in your own personal individual life, but we can also see that being very highlighted on a global scale as well. So not only leadership oriented or in the spotlight, but there's kind of going to be a lot of things going on in that department, positive and negative. So, and responsibility and accountability basically being handed out. So someone is going to be put into the corner and is going to have to explain what's gone on, what was going on to this, what happened here. So, I know sudden surprise exposure of a truth coming out, someone being put in the corner and having to take responsibility and be accountable for it. All right, now we will move over to the health and anatomy. Okay, so again, the physical body in any way, shape, or form. All right, so we are going to be looking at the muscle and the muscles of the body, the muscle system. So external reproductive systems, the head and the face, I've mentioned that. The red blood cells, I've mentioned that. And so the bladder and the adrenal glands. Okay, so that is something we do want to keep in check. Keep the adrenal glands in check, keep them healthy, and not stressing them. That's the biggest thing, because as good as all this go-getter, fiery, hot energy of Aries, it's ambitious, it can really roll over and over-center into something very negative. So keep everything in check. This will also include the skin, which I've talked about, skin quality, or maybe skin work or skin care, or maybe you have skin care appointments, psoriasis or eczema, something like that. Even acne, something as simple as that. And about the bones, the skeletal system, any bone in the body, teeth, ligaments, knees, your ears or the auditory organs in the ears, the gallbladder, parathyroid gland, body protein, and tendons. Okay, so that is something else that's going to be in prime focus. It will include the nervous system, so stress, anxiety, nervousness, sleeplessness, those kind of things. Keep that in check. Pick your battles. The brain, we talked about, the sight, the eyes, the mouth, the tongue, the respiratory system, that includes the lungs and the lung quality. Hands, arms, that will be elbows, thyroid, anything to do with the mind, the thymus gland. And so anything to do with the mind is Mercury linked, which means that can be depression, your nerves being bad, your thinking quality, those kind of things. Anything to do with the mind, the thoughts, and that can also include depression. We can have the area of denial. Okay, so that can come up. This can include viruses, mental illness, denial, depression. Okay, this can include the spine or spinal column, the feet, the pineal gland, the nerve fibers. This can also include telepathic functions, the white blood cells, and kinesthetic functions. So that can be white blood cell testing, or white blood cells showing up for whatever reason you're having blood tests and they show up as something. And kinesthetic functions. Okay. And the very last thing that we're probably going to have showing up, and this can do with the heart or heart function, heart test, anything to do with the heart. So that can be a healthy heart to we have a problem with the heart, upper back, spleen, circulatory system. And again, the eyes are linked. And again, as a whole, we're going to be looking at our general vitality and state of health. And that is very linked with everything to do with that physical body on the exterior and the interior. And, there could be a lot of say cosmetic procedures or cosmetic surgeries coming into play starting this week. Again, we do have our new moon in Aries at 27 degrees. And so this can include the breast area, stomach, anything, right? Anything to do with the stomach, fluid balance. Again, that can be starting to maybe level out because we're having less Pisces energy. So proper fluid balance, we're not having excessive swelling or unexplained water retention, those kind of things. Digestion, glandular secretions. And again, the eyes are very highlighted this whole week. So whether you're getting, your eyes tested, or maybe you need glasses, or maybe you don't need glasses or contacts, or anything to do with the eye area. And an honorable mention runner-up, Venus is very active this week, but it's not running with any conjunctions, but it is very active. So we can be taking a look at the throat, chin, cheeks, your sense of taste, the kidney function or kidney areas, or maybe kidney tests, ovaries, internal reproductive organs, blood circulation, and again, the sensory organs of the skin or skin oriented. And I will also include the ankles and the Achilles heel, okay, the Achilles tendon. So do be careful around electricity. I will put that out because we're at that Uranus 29th degree. That can include electrical shocks, electrocution, those kind of things, unexpected weather events, the acts of God weather. So that would be tornadoes to earthquakes to volcanoes, unexpected out of the blue weather storms. And that can include anything to do with money, banking, currency, investments, stock markets being crazy all over the place. Again, that 29th degree in Taurus is this crazy all over the place type of energy. And I think that's all I want to mention for today. So with that being said, that will close out, I think, this week. Oh, something else you might be looking at is having some energies focused around big money, lotto wins, inheritance, estates, wills, any sort of funeral planning. That can include any sort of sex and intimacy, anything to do with tax base, or maybe tax payments or tax refunds, actually, those types of things too. It's the death and transformation house, okay? And so this can also be about mysteries, hidden, and secrets, but we're looking on the exposure way, right? Or something being brought to light, a truth. We can also be looking at, relationship, money, partnerships, art, beauty, anything to do with that, with finances, and our inner values. Our inner values are going to be very highlighted this week as well. Like, what are we going to put up with? What are we not going to tolerate anymore? Upgrading our values and our value systems, our value structures, and therefore usually that brings a profound change in life for the better. All right. With that being said, I think now I will close off. So that will close this week's weekly review from the 13th to the 19th. Then again, we're kind of including that crazy kind of 20th of April as well. Okay. Until we talk again, stay happy, stay healthy, take care of yourself, and take care of each other. Bye for now.